Hello everybody and welcome back to Smart Clock Hacking 101. Today we're going to turn this little Lenovo Smart Clock into something a bit more useful. We're going to turn it into a smart controller touchscreen device. Now this could work with various different apps, as I'm sure you'll see, but let's get started, shall we? So to begin with, you will have to refer to my first video on my channel, which shows you how you, quote, unlock this device, install last launcher or whatever launcher you like, as well as the button remapper to get home and back mapped to the volume buttons. Once you've done that, come back here and we will show you what you can do to get a smart home controller set up on this thing. So in my case, our house is mainly filled with TP-Link Tapo products from, smart light bulbs and smart switches and the like. So in this example, I'll be using the Tapo app from TP-Link, but feel free to substitute it for whatever, smart home app you may want to use, because it should work with multiple. So the first step after unlocking the device is to install the actual smart home app you want to use using an app we installed in the previous video called APK Pure. This is a third-party app store. Unfortunately, yes, it is filled with ads, but it's not really too much of a problem. So I've already got Tapo installed and logged in, but I'll show you how it would have happened. So I search for Tapo in the store here, and I click there, and I've just installed it from here. Obviously I've got it installed, so I'll just open it up. So there we have it. Right, this is the TP-Link Tapo app. Now this by itself is quite useful, but there are things that we can do to improve the usability of this device that I'll go through. So the first thing you might notice is that the text is quite large, and it doesn't leave much space to read. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the display settings. So we've currently got home button mapped to plus, so we'll go there, and we're going to change the display interface size here. So go to display and advanced display size. What we're going to do is we're going to change that to small. You notice that the text goes down there. You can also change the font size. I think I'm going to leave this one on default. I think changing the screen size is enough. So let's go back and let's reopen Tapo here. Okay, so the app's loaded properly now, and you can see that while it's not perfect, some of the names are a little too long for the screen. It is better than before, and generally the interface with slightly smaller writing is more usable when it's set up like this. Okay, the next thing you might notice is that this app actually forces the device to run in portrait mode. Some apps will not force portrait mode or may use a different orientation. So what we can do is we can change the orientation the app is using. So what you can do is you can jump in here and you could turn on the auto rotate. However, the funny thing about the auto rotate on this app, on this device, is that the sensor is actually the wrong way around. See? So you put it one way and it flips another. Yeah, not very useful. So instead of that, we'll turn that back off, and we're going to go back into APK Pure, and we're going to download an app to solve this problem instead. So we're just going to type into here, set orientation. So, yeah. Okay, and once you've got that, once you open the app, all you'll see is a little pop-up window, and then there's something here that allows you to force it. So for example, if you want to force landscape, we can do that. So if I now go back home, try Tapo, I should be able to get it in landscape, although this app does not like landscape. Yeah, okay, so the app has loaded in landscape, but obviously, as we can see, this is hard-coded to be a portrait app. So it doesn't like that. But with other applications, that may be useful for you. So I'm just going to disable that back to normal. Okay, so we've got our smart home application set up there nicely. We're able to get in and out using the home button. We can navigate using the back button. But what if we reboot the device? Well, what will happen is that you will get landed straight back into this screen. And as a matter of fact, the device does sometimes reboot itself, possibly for updates, I'm not sure, but it does like to reboot itself every now and then, which will mean that you'll be greeted with this screen quite frequently when you might just want it to be permanently showing the smart home display, especially if you're using it with people in the house who aren't as technical as you are and you don't want to teach them how to use it. So what we're going to do is we're going to install an app that will make the smart home app launch as the home launcher. So the first thing we need to do is change our button mapping. So we're going to go on button remapper. Currently from our last video, we've got home set to plus and back set to minus. So instead of home, and you need to do this because otherwise you'll get stuck in the app and you'll have to factory reset the device. Instead of home, we're going to scroll down right to the bottom and go other, and then we're going to go open app. And instead, we're going to explicitly open last launcher rather than home. Okay, so now we always have access to that launcher. And the next thing we're going to install is Target Home Launcher. We're going to do it for the browser this time because for whatever reason it's not available on the APK Pure app. So we'll type in Target Home Launcher. Head on to the APK Pure site. Download the APK. Okay, now we have Target Home Launcher installed and we're going to open it. So now we want to choose what will be our home app. So in this case, we want this to be a smart home controller and we're using the Tapo app for that. So we're going to choose Tapo. Okay, the app will then warn us that Target Home Launcher is not actually set as the default home screen at the minute. So we'll click OK. What we're going to do is click use a different app, Target Home Launcher. So that's now selected it. We are going to have to do that again. So just do Tapo, click OK. This time choose Always. This is now your home app, which will redirect to whatever you set it to. So Tapo. Okay. So Tapo is now set as our home launcher, and we have access to last launcher where we can get to our apps using the plus button. So there it is. So we're back into last launcher because of the plus button, and I'll show you what happens on a reboot now. And so as you can see there, after a reboot, it launches straight back into our smart home application. So if the device does reboot to do an update or whatever it does, then it will come back straight onto the home screen there. Okay, so now we have the smart home setup. Now, it's possible that you will want to use this device with the Google Assistant, and you can continue using it with the Google Assistant, as I'll demonstrate now. Hey Google, what's the time?
It's 3:06 p.m.
As you can see, the device responds in the background. Hey Google, play Spotify.
All right, music on Spotify. Here you go.
And you'll see that it opens Spotify or anything, any media app, if you ask it to. And if you want to go back, you can just use the back button there, and that takes you back. So you can continue to use the Google Home functionality if you like. But what if you have another Google Home device that you're using for this in your room, or you don't really want to use this device for Google Home, you just want to use it for this app? Well, you could mute the device.
The mic is muted.
But then in the top corner, you're going to have this icon in the way the whole time. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to...
The mic's back on.
Disable the permissions needed. So if we go into settings here, go into apps, see all apps, and then show system. What we're going to do is we're going to find the apps related to Google, and we're going to just disable them as best we can. So Assistant Core, if we're not going to use Google, can't disable it. However, you can remove these permissions. So we'll deny the phone permission and the location permission as well, might as well. Okay. Smart display updater. We don't really want the device rebooting necessarily. You can disable that if you like, up to you. Let's keep scrolling. We will have Chromecast built in. Now this is the main piece of software that runs the voice recognition as far as I can tell. So we can disable this. In fact, don't do that. What we'll do is first we'll remove the permissions. So I'm going to deny all the permissions it had. Microphone, phone, storage. So that's now got no permissions, and we're going to disable it. And just for good measure, we are going to disable the home interface as well. Okay, so now we have access to all of this. And the voice assistant now doesn't work. So you will notice that if you say, "Hey Google, what's the time?" it's not going to respond to you. And the mute button will not show anything on the screen. So even if it's unmuted like this, we can go, "Hey Google, what is the time?" "Hey Google, what is the time?" Nothing. So that's Google Home disabled completely. So you can continue using just the app that you wanted to on it. Okay, so I've just switched over to another device that I've already got set up here to show you another way that you could use this. So in this case, the device is running with the Google Assistant as the home launcher. However, we can primarily use this device for what it was designed for, but we can jump out of the Google Home nice and easily using a long press shortcut that we've set up in Button Remapper. So on this device, I'm primarily using it as a Google Home, but sometimes I might want to jump out and say, "Check the weather," without speaking to Google. So for example, in this case, plus and minus are mapped with a long press. So if I long press, I believe it's plus, actually it might be negative. Yeah, so if I long press the negative button, I then get back to my last launcher there, and I can open something else. I've just restarted this, so it's being a little bit slow. It isn't normally this slow. And there you go, there's the BBC weather app. So this use case allows me to use the device as a Google clock, but then with the press of a button, jump back out into last launcher. And the way this is done is simply by, in Buttons Remapper, just going to last launcher and setting the long press for volume down to big open last launcher, so that I can still have the Google as the home screen, but jump in and out of apps as I see fit. Another note to add, obviously using the buttons to navigate the device isn't ideal, but what I will say is that if you want to correct the volume after using the home buttons to navigate, you can actually just adjust the volume from the swipe down menu at the bottom, like this. So if you want to navigate the device with these and then change the volume back to what you want, you can just do that by swiping up from the bottom and changing it like that. Just an additional note to include before we wrap up the video: if you do ever need to factory reset this device, maybe you've mapped the buttons incorrectly, or the device isn't showing up in Google Home settings anymore, what you can do is press and hold the volume and minus buttons for about 10 seconds or so. You'll then be given a prompt to reset, and you can factory reset the device that way. Just an example here to show you of what you can do with these devices. I've got mine here in a bookshelf. I've drilled a hole down the back which just powers it, and we have it sat in this bookshelf here on its side, and it can just be used to go in and change the living room lights and even look at the camera on the driveway if we want to. So that's just one little use case of our smart speaker there. So there it is. That's some good ways to make use of your unlocked Lenovo Smart Clock. I'm going to keep doing videos as I find more interesting things that you can do with these, and someone in the comments challenged me to get Doom running on this, so I'm going to order a Bluetooth controller and see if I can get these things to run Doom, because that would be awesome. So keep tuned for that. Cheers for watching.